Have you ever felt the urge to share something deeply personal, a dream, a prayer, or even a victory, only to regret it later? Perhaps the response you received was indifferent, dismissive, or even envious. Or maybe the energy surrounding that moment shifted, and what once felt sacred now seems diluted. This isn't a coincidence. As God's chosen, there's a higher standard placed on what you share and who you share it with. Silence, in many ways, is one of the greatest spiritual tools you have to protect your purpose. We live in a world that encourages constant sharing. Every thought, every achievement, every struggle. Social media pushes us to put our lives on display, but have you ever stopped to ask, is this what God wants? The Bible tells us in Proverbs 13, verse 3, "Those who guard their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin." Silence is not just a lack of words. It's a deliberate act of wisdom and self-control. In this video, we'll explore the power of silence and reveal 5 things that should always remain private for God's chosen ones. These aren't just arbitrary rules. They are spiritual principles designed to shield your heart, protect your blessings, and allow God's plans to unfold without interference. As C.S. Lewis beautifully puts it, the right actions often seem inexplicable to others, but they're between you and God. This quote captures the essence of today's message. Your relationship with God is personal and sacred, and not everything He reveals to you is meant to be shared with the world. But why is silence so powerful? Because it creates space. It allows God to move in ways that human interference cannot disrupt. When you keep certain things private, you are saying to God, "I trust you to guide me, even when others don't understand." So today we'll dive deep into why keeping certain aspects of your life private isn't just wise, it's necessary. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the value of silence, but also feel equipped to protect your purpose and live out your calling with strength and confidence. Let's begin by understanding why silence holds such a critical place in the life of someone chosen by God. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of something far more profound: discernment, wisdom, and sacred space. In a world that never stops talking, where opinions are everywhere, silence can feel like a rebellion. But for those called to a higher purpose, silence is an act of obedience. It is in the silence that we hear the voice of God more clearly, that we receive His guidance without distractions, and that we protect the gifts He has entrusted to us. The Bible speaks frequently about the importance of silence. In Ecclesiastes 3, verse 7, it says, "There is a time to be silent and a time to speak." This passage reminds us that our words should not be wasted or spoken hastily. Silence is not about being passive or silent in the face of injustice. It's about knowing when to hold our peace and let God lead the conversation. In Proverbs 17:28, it says, "Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues." Here, the writer emphasizes that silence can elevate our wisdom. Sometimes, the most powerful response is not to speak at all. C.S. Lewis also understood the power of silence in the life of the believer. He once wrote, "We need silence to be able to touch souls." This beautifully captures the essence of why silence is so vital for those chosen by God. In silence, we not only protect our own spiritual well-being, but we also create an environment where God's presence can move freely. Silence allows us to commune with God in the deepest, most intimate way. It is in this sacred space that He reveals things about ourselves, our lives, and our futures that would otherwise be clouded by noise. In the story of Elijah in 1 Kings 19:11-12, we find a powerful example of silence as a means of divine revelation. God instructs Elijah to stand on the mountain before him, but instead of a mighty wind, earthquake, or fire, God's voice came in a gentle whisper. The lesson here is profound. While the world may demand loud, attention-grabbing displays, God often speaks in the quietest moments. He speaks to us not through the noise of the world, but in the stillness of our hearts. This is why silence is crucial for those called to follow God's purpose. It is not only a means of avoiding unnecessary distractions, but also a way to align ourselves with God's will. When we choose silence, we choose to protect our hearts from the influences of the world. We choose to listen more attentively to His voice and respond with faith and obedience. Jesus Himself modeled this principle throughout His ministry. In Mark 1:35, we read that, Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Jesus, who was fully God and fully man, understood the necessity of solitude and silence. Before embarking on any ministry or making significant decisions, he withdrew into silence to commune with his Father. If silence was essential for Jesus, how much more is it necessary for us? By embracing silence, we create room for God to work. We allow him to speak to us without the interference of our own thoughts, others' opinions, or the distractions of life. Silence gives us clarity and direction, allowing us to walk in the path he has laid out for us. As we learn to be still and listen, we develop a deeper understanding of his purpose for our lives. As C.S. Lewis eloquently states in Mere Christianity, we are to learn to practice silence, not for the sake of silence itself, but for the sake of the ability to hear. This encapsulates the heart of the matter. Silence is not an end in itself. It is the means by which we open ourselves to hear from God, to receive his wisdom, and to protect the divine purpose he has placed within us. In conclusion, silence is not just an absence of sound. It is an intentional act of trust and obedience. It is in the silence that we are able to hear God's still small voice and discern his will. As we continue on this journey of discovering what we should keep to ourselves, let us remember that silence is our ally, and through it, God will speak in ways that will guide and strengthen us. The 5 things you should keep to yourself. When it comes to protecting the divine purpose God has placed in your life, there are certain things that must remain private. These aren't secrets born out of fear or shame. They are sacred truths that deserve to be shielded from unnecessary scrutiny, misunderstanding, or negativity. Let's explore these 5 things in detail. 1. Your personal conversations with God. Your prayer life is an intimate connection between you and God. Matthew 6 verse 6 tells us, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." This verse underscores the importance of keeping your prayers private. When you share your deepest prayers with others, you risk exposing them to misunderstanding or even judgment. Your prayers are your sacred dialogue with the Creator, a place where you can pour out your heart, confess your struggles, and seek his guidance without interference. Example, imagine praying about a significant life decision, such as changing careers or moving to a new city. Sharing this prematurely with others might lead to doubt, unsolicited advice, or discouragement. By keeping it between you and God, you allow him to provide clarity and peace without external distractions. 2. Your dreams and goals. Dreams are fragile in their early stages. Sharing them too soon can expose them to criticism, envy, or even sabotage. Genesis 37 teaches us this through the story of Joseph, who shared his dreams with his brothers, only to be met with jealousy and betrayal. When God places a dream in your heart, it is meant to grow in the soil of your faith and obedience. Sharing it before it's fully formed can stunt its growth or lead to unnecessary obstacles. Example, you may feel called to start a ministry or pursue a creative passion. If shared prematurely, others might project their fears onto you, making you second-guess the very vision God gave you, your challenges and struggles. We all face trials, but not every challenge is meant to be shared. James 1:12 reminds us, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." Some struggles are meant to refine and strengthen you in private. Oversharing your struggles can lead to gossip, pity, or unhelpful advice that distracts you from relying on God. Instead, bring your struggles to him first and allow his strength to carry you through. Example, you may be navigating financial difficulties or relationship challenges. Sharing these details publicly might invite judgment or unwelcome opinions. Trust in God's promise to work all things for your good. Romans 8:28. 4. Your financial blessings. Financial success is a blessing, but it's also something that should be handled with discretion. Proverbs 21:20 says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." This verse highlights the importance of wisdom and stewardship. Sharing your financial blessings can invite envy or unrealistic expectations from others. It's not about hiding God's provision, but about being humble and responsible with what He has entrusted to you. If you receive a financial windfall or achieve a significant milestone, resist the urge to broadcast it. Instead, quietly give thanks and use it wisely, perhaps even to bless others anonymously. 5. Your future plans. The Bible encourages us to commit our plans to God. Proverbs 16:3 says, "Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans." When we share our plans prematurely, we expose them to unnecessary scrutiny or interference. God's timing is perfect, and revealing your plans before they're ready can lead to confusion or doubt. Trust that He will guide your steps and open the right doors at the right time. Example: if you feel led to pursue a new opportunity or make a significant life change, keep it between you and God until the path becomes clearer. Let Him establish your steps without external distractions. Each of these 5 things represents a sacred aspect of your walk with God. By keeping them private, you protect their integrity and allow God to work through them in His perfect way. Understanding the importance of keeping these 5 areas private is one thing, but living it out daily is another. How can we, as God's chosen, practically apply the wisdom of silence and discretion to our lives? Let's break this down into actionable steps and real-life scenarios to ensure this knowledge becomes part of your spiritual practice. 1. Develop a private prayer life. Your prayer life is the foundation of your relationship with God, and maintaining its intimacy is key. Set aside time daily for private conversations with Him, following Jesus' example in Mark 1:35. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where He prayed. Actionable step: create a dedicated space in your home for prayer. It could be a quiet corner or even your car during breaks. When you pray, resist the urge to share every prayer request with others. Instead, write your prayers in a journal and review how God answers them over time. This not only strengthens your faith, but also keeps your prayers sacred. Example: if you're praying for a breakthrough in your career, instead of sharing this with friends or on social media, bring it solely to God. Watch how He moves without external interference or opinions clouding your faith. 2. Practice delayed sharing. One of the most practical ways to protect your dreams, goals, and plans is by practicing delayed sharing. This means waiting until something is established or nearing completion before revealing it to others. Biblical foundation. James 4:13-15 warns us against presuming on the future. You do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. This verse reminds us to commit our plans to God and trust His timing. Actionable step: before sharing any new plan or goal, take time to pray and reflect. Ask yourself, is this something God wants me to share now, or is it better kept between us for now? Example: suppose you're considering starting a business. Instead of announcing it immediately, spend time researching, planning, and seeking God's guidance. Once you have clear confirmation and a solid foundation, you can share it selectively with those who will support and uplift you. 3. Cultivate discernment in conversations. Not every conversation requires full transparency. Discernment allows you to gauge what to share, when to share, and with whom. Proverbs 2:6 says, "For the Lord gives wisdom. From His mouth come knowledge and understanding." This wisdom is available to us when we seek it. Actionable step: before entering into conversations about personal matters, pause and pray for discernment. Practice responding with grace and minimal detail when others inquire about private aspects of your life. Example: if someone asks how you're doing during a challenging season, you can respond honestly but without oversharing. "I'm trusting God to work things out." This maintains your privacy while pointing to your faith. On 4, guard your heart against validation seeking. A significant challenge in today's culture is the temptation to seek validation from others, whether through social media, friendships, or even family. But remember, as C.S. Lewis reminds us, when we seek God's approval, we free ourselves from the tyranny of human opinion. Actionable step: evaluate your motives before sharing. Are you looking for encouragement, approval, or validation? Instead, seek these from God in prayer and through His Word. Psalm 62:5 says, "Yes, Yes, my soul, find rest in my hope comes from him. Example, if you achieve a financial milestone or personal victory, resist the urge to post about it or tell everyone you know. Instead, take a moment to thank God in private and let him guide you on how best to steward your blessing. Enter 5, create boundaries with trusted individuals. While some people are safe to share with, even those closest to you don't need to know everything. Jesus modeled this when he chose to take only Peter, James, and John with him to certain pivotal moments, such as his transfiguration, Matthew 17, 1-9. Actionable step. Identify 2 or 3 trusted individuals who align with your faith and values. These should be people who will pray for you, encourage you, and speak truth into your life. Share selectively and wisely, even with them. Example, if you're struggling with a personal challenge, instead of sharing it broadly, confide in a trusted mentor or spiritual advisor. Their support, rooted in faith, will strengthen you without compromising your privacy. 6. Journal and reflect in silence. One of the best ways to process your thoughts, prayers, and struggles without sharing them is through journaling. Psalm 46, verse 10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Journaling allows you to be still, reflect, and document your journey with God without external input. Actionable step. Set aside time weekly to journal your prayers, dreams, and challenges. Use this as an opportunity to track how God is working in your life and to gain clarity on what should remain private. Example, when faced with a big decision, write out your thoughts and prayers in your journal instead of seeking advice from multiple people. Over time, you'll see how God provides answers and direction. When applied consistently, these practical steps will transform the way you navigate your spiritual journey. By guarding your heart, protecting your purpose, and keeping sacred things private, you'll experience a deeper sense of peace, clarity, and alignment with God's will. As we conclude today's message, remember that the silence we've talked about isn't about isolation or retreating from the world. It's about creating sacred space where you can protect the divine purpose God has given you. Silence, in this context, is a weapon, an intentional, powerful tool to shield your heart, protect your dreams, and align yourself with God's will. The Bible teaches us that the Lord is near to all who call on him, to all who call on him in truth. Psalm 145:18. In your silence, you draw closer to God. In your stillness, you open the door for him to move in ways that go beyond what you can imagine. By keeping these 5 things to yourself, your personal prayers, dreams, struggles, financial blessings, and future plans, you create space for God to speak freely and guide you in his perfect timing. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "The more we let God take us over, the more truly ourselves we become." By protecting the sanctity of your relationship with God, you don't lose yourself in the process, you find your true identity. You stop seeking validation from the world and start receiving your worth and purpose directly from the Creator. But this journey requires intentionality. It requires you to pause, reflect, and say no to the distractions and noise of the world. It asks you to protect your most sacred moments and share them only when God leads you to. You must be diligent in guarding your heart, because it is the wellspring of your life. Proverbs 4:23. Now it's time for you to take action. Commit to quiet time. Dedicate a specific time each day for private prayer and reflection. Guard this time fiercely. In that quiet, God will speak to you in ways you never imagined. Journal your thoughts and prayers. Start writing down your prayers, dreams, and challenges in a journal. Keep it private and let it be a sacred space for God to reveal his guidance. Share selectively. Be intentional about who you share your dreams and struggles with. Only open up to those who will pray with you and support your faith journey. Protect your blessings. When God blesses you, whether financially, relationally, or in any other way, resist the urge to share prematurely. Take a moment to thank him and steward those blessings wisely. Take this message and let it transform your life. Protect what God has entrusted to you. Allow the quiet moments to deepen your relationship with him and draw you closer to his will. If you're ready to embrace silence as a powerful tool in your walk with God, I encourage you to make a commitment today. Share this message with others who may benefit from the wisdom of protecting their purpose and their calling. Let's become a generation of believers who choose silence, faith, and obedience over the distractions of the world. As you step into this new season of intentional silence, trust that God will lead you with wisdom, clarity, and purpose. Keep your heart pure, your purpose protected, and your faith unshakable. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you richly as you continue your journey as one of His chosen.